You can be absolutely in your feminine power. You could absolutely be more in like priestess warrior energy. Like you can harness your feminine and still get shit done and still be powerful. It's so much different than being your masculine energy. I desire divine masculine men, and every divine man I meet, he wants to adorn his woman. And then when you're within that dynamic, it's the biggest pleasure to do so for you. And then as a woman, you're an overflow of this, like being adorned. You have nothing else but to want to pour back into them and serve them and create with them. And it becomes this beautiful.
Hey everyone, I'm Angeline Constantinou, and this is Her Unapologetic Voice. This podcast was created for women who lead but are done leading from apology. Here we have real, unfiltered conversations about boundaries, truth, and confidence. The kind of talks that remind you your voice is not something you find once, it's something you build. Every episode will give you something real to take with you, whether it's a boundary script, a reflection tool, or simply the courage to say what you really mean. So if you're ready to lead from your truth, not from approval, this is your space. Your unapologetic voice starts here. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Her Unapologetic Voice podcast. And today's conversation is for the woman who has already built some success, but still feels depleted, disconnected, or like she's performing her life instead of living it. Because here's the truth. No one talks about this enough. So you can check every box, hit every milestone, and still feel out of alignment in your body, your relationships, in business, and your sense of freedom. So today, my guest today is Natalia Richardson. She is the founder of High Frequency CEO. She is also my mentor, and she is amazing. She is a feminine liberation guide for women who are no longer interested in hustle, survival identities, or success that cost them their truth. Natalia works with women who are already accomplished and are now ready for coherence, intimacy, ease, and wealth that actually feels safe in their body. So in this conversation, we are going to be talking about what it really means to live in coherence, why frequency matters more than strategy, how survival identities quietly run our businesses and relationships, the mirrors we encounter in intimacy, embodied leadership, integrating feminine and masculine energetics, and the radical truth that real liberation begins when you stop lying to yourself. Okay, so Natalia is also the co-creator of Real and Raw Liberation, a powerful movement and space where women come together. And I will be speaking at the Austin event this February, the first weekend in February. Natalia, welcome to the stage and
Hello.
to my podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to this conversation.
It's a real and raw conversation. So I always ask all my guests, where are you live streaming from right now and what is the time?
Currently, I'm live streaming from San Marcos in Guatemala.
Wow.
Yes, and the time, it's 11 a.m. in the morning here. It's divine.
I know, I can see that. I love your background. I'm like, you're not in the cold weather.
No, oh my goodness. And I'll be headed back soon. And I keep having to remind myself it's actually the end of January, seasonally in most places right now.
Right, so. Exactly. Oh my God, I know. But I just am so happy and blessed that you took the time out of your busy schedule to be here today. So I have a question. What inspired you to start the High Frequency CEO?
Okay. I mean, it's a multifaceted question. It transpired from my own journey, but when I really realized that all of the work that I was doing with women, it was all about frequency and coherence. Like the higher your frequency is and where you're more embodied in your divine, I call it your divine origin identity. That's when life starts meeting you. That's when you start magnetizing things. That's when you stop trying to chase and hustle and grip, and you're truly in this energetic embodied flow. And so the name just came through with that. And it's the foundation of what I do, because the higher your frequency is, and I'm not saying all love and light and vibe high, like the authenticity of the way you lead and live and love really creates that life that you are calling in.
There you go. I love that, because the hustle culture, people still talk about it. There's a lot of women out there who feel disconnected from their bodies and their minds. So how do you help them integrate and get them in that zone and that frequency?
It depends on the context. If it's, I do in-person immersions with people, group and one-on-one, so it depends on the flow, but it's really looking at where in their life everything is showing up. So let's say I work with a lot of leaders who are doing well, but they feel unhappy every day and they're anxious and they're just unfulfilled. So we start looking at where that pattern may have started and the root and where they feel it in their body, and learning to essentially lean into that thing, right? We will all avoid it. People will be anxious all day and they'll be leading and doing the thing, and then they'll go home and they'll check out and they'll watch Netflix, and they're always abandoning their body, right? They're not ever just sitting presently. So it's really about creating that spaciousness where actually being present with yourself and those emotions feels grounding and good. And then we dive into them and alchemize them. And once we do, and we see how that's playing out in all their areas of life, we essentially get to the root and move through the root of that experience, like where it's coming from, whether it's when you were younger, an activated moment in your life. Sometimes it's like past life things that come through for people, but we go deep into that. And that would be the start of all of it, because it all transpires from what's going on in the coherence with yourself. Most women, a question I'll ask them is, what brings you joy? And they'll start saying, oh, like when I do this in my business, or, oh, when my husband, and I say, no, what brings you joy? And many don't actually know the answer to what brings them joy outside of all their other titles or identities. And so that's kind of the first journey that I have them go on if they're in that place, is let's explore, like, what brings you pleasure, what brings you joy? And then from there, it starts, evolving and growing.
Exactly. And I know that you and I have worked together, and you're my mentor, and I'm very proud to be a great student. But like, that's what I've learned, like being joyful and being in the present moment. It's not about the other person. It's about you and embodying that.
Yeah. And I am honored to be your mentor. I love working with you. You were definitely, speaking to everyone who's watching, she's a woman who she's all in and she follows through and she shows up. And I always tell people, like, I can't advocate for your dreams if you're not. And Angelina is a prime example of somebody who truly is all in on her dreams. But even like this in Guatemala, I've made so many beautiful connections while I'm here, and I'm grieving leaving. But every moment I try to go into, my brain wants to put me in the future, like the grieving of the leaving. I bring myself back into, where are you right now? Like, don't waste these present moments with these people. Like, can you be so present that everything just gets to feel good? And so it's just that practice of, don't waste your life thinking about the future. And when you're so in the moment, that's actually when the most beautiful things come through, because that's what life is about, right?
Right, exactly. Being in the present moment without worrying about what's happening in the future. Like, I totally understand. So that's great. So what does it mean to live in coherence for women, especially for women who have businesses?
Okay. So being in coherence, I would just say, is leading with truth and never abandoning yourself. So if you can ask yourself, when you're feeling those internal battles, generally when you feel that push and pull instead of like a peacefulness, even if it's anxious, right? Like when we're investing like in that next level, or maybe we're having to have a hard conversation, doesn't mean it necessarily feels like delightful, but you know that you need to do it, right? You're doing it from a place of truth. And when you speak from truth, you're in coherence, because what is for you is for you. But when you're experiencing this internal battle of these things, there's something that would be essentially out of alignment, and that applies to business or your life. But to come back into it, it would be that question, like, where am I abandoning myself in this? And it could be, there's a conversation you need to have, but you're avoiding speaking the truth about it because you have the stories around, someone might not like me, or this client might not like me if I lead and actually honor myself and like actually lead them versus try to friend them or save them. Right. And so being able to ask yourself those questions and find out where that self-abandonment piece would be. And when you step into your truth, it might feel uncomfortable, but generally you'll feel that the push and pull, it'll dissolve. And the more that you dissolve and you lean into those uncomfortable things, you come in coherence, which would be like right now in this moment, I don't have any internal resistance around anything, because I continue to just choose truth and what would be like in the highest good for myself. And I mean that in the way of like, if I am my most true and authentic divine self, I will attract what is for me, and I get to celebrate what is being pulled out, what is leaving, what isn't choosing me. That's actually a gift because I'm not for them. And so that feels
Right.
so good to be like, I'm all of me, take it or leave it. And that applies to your business, to your leadership, to your relationships, to everything.
Absolutely. And what are signs that a woman is out of coherence, meaning that she's disconnected, even if she looks successful? If you can break it down for me in her thoughts, her emotions, her body, and her actions.
Okay. So on paper, she's, let's say, multi 6, 7, like her,
Right.
she's bringing in income. It feels really good. She's successful. People see her. She's, oh, you've done all these amazing things, right? She's got all of that. She might even have the white picket fence and like what looks like she's got the golden retriever, all the things. But maybe behind the scenes, she comes home and has no desire to be intimate with her partner. In fact, she feels like more alone in her household than she ever has, even though she's surrounded by all of the things she was told
Right.
that they create the dream, right? And so she did the things from that place instead of what actually is aligned for me. In her business, she's going and she's always controlling, right? She feels like she needs to control instead of actually allow the people in her company or the people she's serving to lead. She's always in this state of like, I need to grip, I need to control, I'm anxious. Like, it's never this abundant energy. It's always this more like high cortisol would be a way that you could describe it. And in that place, she's micromanaging everything, right? She's not in surrender. And
Right.
she feels like if I delegate these things or release these things, then let's say she's doing that and then she's getting more time back, and then she starts to get more time back, but her worth is attached to her time. So she's like, this feels uncomfortable, and she starts gripping and doing more, right? Those would be like examples. And with herself, she finally has 30 minutes alone, and instead of enjoying it and being present, she can't sit with herself. She is constantly scrolling, constantly looking for something to distract herself. And it could be very unconscious, but it's showing up in the way that her skin looks, in the way that her face looks. It's showing up in the way that she can't even focus on a conversation because she feels like she needs to respond, like or react instantly instead of just being present with that conversation and actually listening, hearing someone. And generally, I would say she knows that like she might have feelings like, I did all the things, is this really it? Like this is how I'm supposed to feel, like with all of the things. And she might have those moments where she knows, okay, either like in her marriage, I want to be energized, I want to come home, I want to connect with my partner, right? But she's like, I don't even know how to do that anymore. And she's been so much in her masculine that he doesn't know how to lead anymore because the energetic is so off. And then when it comes to her work, there's probably some things she does want to let go or she does want to delegate, but it's the stories of the shoulds, right? Or maybe in her marriage, maybe it is really unhealthy and it's toxic and they both know it, but it's the shoulds where people are like, no, you have to make it work. You have to do these things instead of this. Actually, we both get to be happy. We both deserve this happiness. Can we love each other and release, right? You're having the conversations where you actually start knowing what you should do, but then the shoulds come in and like your identity of the successful, happy, blah, 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 blah. But that's all it is. It's just an identity. And so you're constantly clashing, and she would be really exhausted most of the time because when you're playing different identities of that are not actually you, generally you're tired because you go to work and you're trying to be somebody that you really aren't. And then you go home and you're also not actually being who you really want to be. And then maybe even at Pilates, you're like, you go to Pilates because it's the social thing, but like really you just want to work out and be present, but you're being like the it girl at Pilates. And so you come home and you're exhausted because all you're doing is trying to be who you think everybody needs you to be versus actually just being yourself. And then when you start peeling away those layers and you stop caring about all of those things and really ask how you can lead with like the highest truth in your life, start to get more peace and you start to have more energy and you start to become more joyful. Your employees are actually happier and you're allowing them to lead and you're clearing out like the distortion that's in your workplace and at home, having those conversations so it doesn't feel like this giant elephant in the room. Like, even if it's uncomfortable conversations, it feels free because you're actually expressing what you both know. You're just not talking about it. So obviously these are like really, they're all portals, but they're all connected. Like if it's happening at home, you're probably also somehow playing that out at work, and you're also playing it out in like your internal ecosystem.
Right, exactly. Like we're conditioned to believe that we have the perfect marriage. I mean, it happened to me too. So it's like I was married once, and then it, like everyone painted, like everyone said, "Oh, there's a Hollywood couple," but internally, behind closed doors, it was not like that.
Yeah. And then when you don't speak about it, like as a woman who was also divorced, I didn't speak about a lot of things, right? And then people want to paint a story, or maybe you're, unfortunately, your significant other wants to paint a story about you. And you also get to make that choice. Like, I don't really care what the story is painted. And if you want to believe whatever that story is, that's fine. But I don't need to tell you about what's going on behind closed doors. I don't owe you an explanation for
Right.
walking away from something that I know wasn't right. But we stay in those things because of, I have, a, I have a client that I'm working with now. She's an incredible woman. She's in a very not great marriage. Like there's abuse. There's just not great things, right? She knows she needs to leave, but she keeps coming back. Well, what about the stories he says? What are people going to think? And I was like, you really like, and I asked the hard questions though. And that's me being an leader. I'm like, I will love you and hold you. And I will also ask you the hard questions, like your well-being, your happiness, even your life, depending on how toxic something can get, right? Is that really less important than what he says to you and the people that would believe it and not even want to come to you about that? But we just get so buried in all the shoulds and the fear of this. And that's why I believe in mentorship and support and having somebody, because I myself have my own mentors. Like having somebody to walk beside you and reflect that back to you will help you get so much farther, so much faster, because when you're just in your own spiral of that and everyone else is shitting you, right? Sometimes it can be really hard to pull yourself out of that and be like, no, this is my life. You know?
Exactly. Take it or leave it. Yeah, like take it or leave it. I mean, come on now. I love it. Thank you for your authenticity, Natalia. Yeah. Because a lot of women are afraid to leave. I think more than ever, they say that they feel stuck in this toxic relationship, domestic violence.
Yeah.
And I know for me, I broke free from it because I sought mentorship. But why are so many women so held back? What is holding them back from reaching their greatest potential?
I mean, it's a lot of stories, which is what we do a lot of work around, and identity work and alchemization. But I mean, it can come back to something, right? Even in your childhood, if you have these things around your father, and you might attract men that are controlling, and you would quit. That was me. I attracted men that were controlling, and I can see how that's a mirror back to me now. But I believed control was love, right? And so even though I didn't like it, it was also my brain told me that that's what love is. And there's layers to this, right? But I just had this conversation last night actually, and I was talking about how I'd been in like a super on and off really toxic relationship when I was younger, like verbal abuse, and that verbal abuse broke me down so low, and that also became what I believed about myself, what I was worthy of, right? And so once we hit like that really thin line where we're just like, we even have a little bit more value and we're like, oh, I can't do this, that's when we leave. But then you get into a relationship after that with my ex-husband, and I'm not here to say anything bad, but I remember us having a conversation, and I started crying, being like, I don't even know if I deserve to be treated like this, because he was treating me kindly. Like it wasn't like this giant thing he was doing. I literally remember crying because I didn't feel worthy to receive somebody who just simply treated me kindly. And this is like the beginning of our relationship, right? Obviously things evolved. I'm divorced, yada, yada. But point is like when you look at yourself back then, I have so much compassion for her, but I don't know who that woman is, but it's you grab those little tendrils of, I don't want this to be my story. Am I willing to question everything? Am I willing to look at these things? Am I like, and then we stay in the okays. And that was probably the most big, difficult thing for me pertaining to relationships. When I left a relationship that like I'll love him forever. There is nothing inherently bad. And that's the story that we're taught, is like, unless something really bad happens, you don't release the client, you don't release employee, you don't walk around that relationship. Because what if you don't find better? And it's like, but if you know in your heart that this isn't it, right? That's the bravest thing you do, is trust. Like, but if I know it's not it, can I trust the unknown and walk away from it? And a lot of people don't get there because we're taught, like, if there's nothing inherently bad, you stay. You
Exactly.
listening to your intuition. And so I feel like a lot of women get stuck in that piece, but there's so much more for them and they know it, right? And not necessarily the relationship. Like, they might want to do something completely different in their business, but they're like, oh, the success worked until now. This is safe. I'm going to stay here. Instead of, like, I remember when I pivoted my business, like, I was afraid that it was just going to tank when I brought in, like, when I started talking about like deep spirituality and all of this, like liberation and all the things.
Liberation, right.
My business didn't tank at all. It actually started growing, but it was terrifying. because I was like, all of the people that have like followed me, my business is growing. Like, what if? And I did lose people, right? But I stepped more into my truth, and I stopped like hiding pieces of me. And that actually brought in more line clients. It brought in bigger connections. So it's all of the, yeah, you can live in the okay. And many people are fine living there because it's safe. And like, it takes bravery to decide that there's more for you. And look at all the stories they tell about women, right? Like, I love to dress in like sexy dresses and like flowy clothes and be in paradise. And like, that feels good in my body. And I love my body and I love me. But I remember like the shoulds and like, that's too sexy, or you're this because you wear that. Right. And I was having a conversation with women last night about that. And I said, but she was talking about dressing slutty, like, was the terminology. And I was like, but why does that make you slutty? And I was like, if there are consensual beings also choosing to be intimate with each other, why is there a label for that? Why can't it literally just be that people are choosing? But we have these stories about being a woman and that you're supposed to be this, or the way you're supposed to be a mom. I have broken so many generational curses, and there's so many stories about me as a mom, and I just like simply don't care because they don't know my story, but I also know who I am. And that's all that matters, right? But you could stay in all of the things because you should do this and you should be that. And like, that's what this is all about. So stop freaking shoulding yourself.
Stop saying should. We should be this. You need to be authentically you. And who cares?
You go to sleep with you at night.
Right, there you go. I love it.
Going to bed and being like, am I in disconnect from myself? Am I spiraling at night? Or am I like, no, I actually did that hard thing. No, I didn't give that person my power when they said those things to me. Yeah.
There you go. You didn't give her the power. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Let's talk about liberation. We had a conversation, I remember, I think it was last week or the week before, that we talked about, like feminism, but we don't hate men. Okay. In fact, I have a lot of male supporters.
Yeah.
Like more now than I did 17 years ago when I escaped domestic violence. So can you please touch on that? Because I think there's a misconception out there.
Yeah. And I mean, there are feminists out there. There are women I see all of the time that make jokes about like, there's no good men, or I'm happier because I'm single, and all this crap. And at the end of the day, you're calling in what you're joking about. You're like, the joke's on you because you're creating that life and you're pulling those people in. If you think there's no good men, like, that's what you're going to get. Right. But it's a protection. It's a protection mechanism. And the truth is like, in my life now, I have attracted more divine masculine men than I ever could have imagined, that respect me and love me, and they take care of me and they look out for me. And like, it's pure love. And I see it everywhere. And I see them working on themselves to call in their dream partner. And like, it's everywhere. And I honor it every time I speak to some, like, one of them about it, because I'm like, you're this example, like, and that's a reflection of me, right? When those people start coming, it's a reflection of what I've done internally to shift my energy around men. And I had certain beliefs around men and provision and love and all of that too. And when I decided that wasn't going to be my story and my truth, all of that shifted externally. And now the men that show up in my life are completely, obviously we're human. You meet somebody sometimes you're like, but overall the men that I meet aren't like that. And so I believe that divine union is truly what's going to change the world. And that when we honor the divine masculine man for his gifts and all of the things, and then we honor us and the gifts that we bring as women, and whether we come together in actual divine union or it's the divine union within ourselves, that's what changes the world. And so instead of us all of a sudden being in this competition, which is separation, which is the exact opposite, it's No, can we actually celebrate the good men and the things that men do and the things that men are probably better at? Like, I don't know, like men are out there doing construction, not saying women can't, but like men naturally are stronger and naturally have these things about them, right?
Mhm.
The same thing like with women, I mean, I'm more of a natural nurturer, not that everyone is, right? But that's just an example. So why aren't we just loving being a woman and also honoring men for being men? Then that's where the shift happens, is where you can honor a man for having emotions, which is being more in like his feminine and honoring her. But men
Right.
are getting disconnected from their hearts with all of this, right? And then women were also in like this masculine where I don't need a man, I don't whatever. And it's like, no, you shouldn't be in a place where you're looking for a man because you need him. You should be doing it from a place of wholeness, that you desire to be in a partnership where you're two whole beings who both desire to grow together, and you get to come
Right.
together, which is the biggest mirror ever. Like relationships, like in that way, when you're actually choosing divine union and conscious relationship, it's the biggest mirror ever. It doesn't mean it's all sunshine and rainbows. And I'm currently not in partnership, but I'm very aware of that dynamic anyways. But yeah, it breaks my heart to actually watch so many women say all of these things about men when deep down every single one of them wants that man to be able to hold that depth for her. They want that man that can love and honor them. They want to actually feel safe enough to trust. But the stories and the jokes are so much easier than doing that. And so I get spicy when women do that. And it's like, let's be honest. Let's be really truthful. Like your heart, like what do you really want in there? And why is it always like the attack of something else versus like I've been in crummy relationships too. And you know what? I've also been the crummy person in relationships. And that doesn't mean men are inherently bad or women, but it's the same thing with men. If they're saying all that stuff about women and they're going to attract those women who are also like, but yeah, I have more incredible men in my life than I ever have. And it's because of disintegrating all of those things. And that's feminine liberation, is where you don't bring men into your life because of a need, because you're looking for love outside of yourself, because you're seeking for that validation. And a lot of women who've been in the abusive relationships, right? Or in like a corporate area, right? Like we're in their masculine because they're like, that's who I had to be. It's who I had to be with the men. And I go, why?
Yeah. And you know, one of my former colleagues told me that. Just have to be in that masculine energy during the day. Why?
No, it's a choice. You can be absolutely in your feminine power. You could absolutely be more in like, I don't know, your priestess warrior energy. Like you can harness your feminine and still get shit done and still be powerful. It's so much different than being your masculine energy. But many of us, myself included, that's how I started my business too. It was like, I got to do this. I got to take care of myself. At the time I was like, I'm paying all the bills. I'm taking care of kids, like blah, 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 blah. Like I have to do this. I have to, I'm not going to be okay. Nobody can help me. All of the spiral that you go into where I've got to make this work versus first I get to, I love what I do. What a blessing it is that I can provide. And I also can create those containers within myself, like from the masculine, that can hold that energy for me. And now it's not, I'm looking for a partner too. But I also will wholeheartedly say, I don't desire to be in a partnership with a man who doesn't want to provide. I don't desire to be in a partnership with a man who cannot hold my depth and all of me. And that's why when I meet people, I'm all of me, right? I'm all of me, because whether it's a friendship or partnership, and I'm honest about the provision too. I'm like, yeah, I am providing for myself. And in the relationships where that dynamic was exhausting, and I'm like, I desire divine masculine men, and every divine man I meet, he wants to adorn his woman. He wants to provide, like, is his biggest pleasure to do so. And then when you're within that dynamic, it's the biggest pleasure to do so for you. And then as a woman, you're an overflow of this, like being adorned. You have nothing else but to want to pour back into them and serve them and create with them. And it becomes this beautiful flow. And so even if you go to business, like, or you're a leader in your company or whatever, you can go and be a badass in your company. But when you come home and then fully drop into like, I want to nurture my man. I want to cook. I don't want to bring work home with me. I don't want to lead because I don't know how. And so even that belief that you have to be in your masculine is just a belief out of fear that we can't be successful in a man's quote unquote world, which isn't true. I'm successful. I'm a woman. I very much do not live in my masculine, but I also get shit done.
There you go. Me too.
Yeah. So they're all stories. They're all stories and coherence, right? Frequency. it's dissolving all of those stories to realize like you're literally the creator of your reality and you're the player in your reality. Like
I was
you're
about
God
to
and
say
you're human.
that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Your own storyline
Those
is
are-
what you're creating.
exactly. You know how many times I heard those false stories? Men are all the same. I'm like,
Yep.
really?
You're going to keep attracting that man then.
Yeah, exactly. And I
Mhm.
told a friend of mine that. She was like, really? I said, yes, you're going to attract that type of man.
Yeah.
And they don't realize it.
No.
They
And
don't
can you look
realize.
at yourself? And that's where the truth part comes in. Like,
Oh.
can you look at where your, I don't really like the terminology wounds per se. I believe we're all whole, but can you look at the pieces of you that are attracting from that place? Can you look at how you've been the toxic one? Can you look at, oh, this pattern is repeating, like the control thing. I realized that control literally equated to love for me. So until I was willing to look at myself and see where that started, how that played out, move through the shame or the grief or whatever. And once I did, I stopped attracting controlling men, right? It
Right?
was just like that. But oftentimes we're like, why are they all the same? Why is it? And it's but nobody's looking at them. And that's when
Right.
relationships end too. Like, this might be really taboo. I don't agree. Like, if you're going to have an affair, you might as well leave the relationship, right? Like, you might as well just go be with somebody else. But even in that dynamic, let's say that's happening, looking at what led up to that point. And it's not saying you blame, let's say it is the man having the affair. Like, it could be almost, right? But there are two parties that led up to that moment where those things started happening, right? There, you might have experienced it with your dad having an affair, and then all of a sudden you're like calling in this thing that's mirroring back the same thing, that you're like, you get to ancestrally shift and stop having this be a pattern, right? And again, I'm not making excuses for it, but people don't get to divorce overnight. They don't get to the relationship ending overnight, and it's always two people. And it's not blaming yourself for somebody else making a poor choice, but like, people will make it about them. If somebody chose to have an affair and they're with me, I'm not making it about me. I'm making it that that's their choice, and now I get to choose, is this something we want to work through and like acknowledge maybe what got us here, or is this something that just isn't aligned for me and I can love them and release them? But it doesn't have to be about me. I don't have to shame myself that I didn't do enough, or I wasn't enough, or I wasn't these
Right.
things. But we get so wrapped up in the stories that we're told about them. And I mean, yeah, like I said, I could go deeper into it, but it's just so interesting to me how in any dynamic I've ever witnessed with anything like that, there are always two sides. And I've witnessed women who are blaming themselves for things happening. And I'm like, you see, but then you're holding the blame and you're holding the shame, even if it was what somebody else chose to do.
Right.
But if you want to shift the dynamics, it's like, okay, well, what if I'm feeling shameful? Maybe you're looking at yourself and you're like, I had just stopped loving that person. I had stopped pouring into them. Like, they were really void of any love from me. And it's not saying their choice was acceptable, but it's also being like, I can see how over time I just stopped showing up. They were looking for this, because being radically honest with yourself of, in this dynamic with there's two of us, what does this mirror back to me? And it's not to shame you, and it's not to guilt you, and it shouldn't be any of those things. And that's the thing. It's just a conscious choice. Like, if this is aligned or it's not, you leave, you stay, you make it work, and you stop letting other people tell you what's right. You stop letting other people dictate your relationship. I, first of all, do not agree with, like, polyamory is not my thing. When I'm in a relationship, I desire just to be with that person.
Exactly.
And if I know people that do that, I don't shame them. I don't guilt them. I'm like, if that's your jam, that's your relationship, that's fine. But why does everybody think that they get to tell you how it's supposed to go? And generally, again, that comes back to their own stuff. They're in the relationship, that they actually know there's stuff going on, but they won't leave. So it's easier to justify based on your things than to, again, look at their own relationship dynamics, right? It always comes back to, yeah, I could go off on this like
Oh yeah,
all day long. Like, yeah.
I don't believe in polygamy either. I don't believe in it at all. No.
Yeah, it's not, it's definitely not my thing, but I'm not going to judge somebody who makes that choice.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And I'm not either. And I'm glad that you touched light on that. That was the radical truth. Okay. So, like, because there's so many women who lie to themselves all the time. So, what changes when a woman finally tells herself the truth? What is that shift that she needs to do to stop lying to herself and replace those with the truth?
So this is one that I've had a lot of clients that will message me after like years and come back to me and like, this is still a core thing that I do. I just call it like separating the truth from the lies. And it's, you ask yourself that when you start playing out a story, right? Like, what's an example? You have a friend and they just aren't responding. They're not texting you back. And you're like, oh, what did I do? What did I do? What, blah, 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 right? So then you look at the story and you're like, okay, is this a truth or a story I'm telling myself? And you're like, well, this is actually a story because I actually have no idea why they're not responding. And then you actually get to shift it into empowerment that the people I choose in my life, they actually, if there's something wrong, they'll tell me. I don't want people in my life who don't tell me if there was something wrong or something upset. I want communication. So if something happened and now they're not talking to me, then they might as well just take themselves out of my life because like if we can't communicate about things, right? So you bring it back to like this empowered inherent truth versus I'm going to start creating stories around why this is happening to me instead of just witnessing it. But when you can start asking yourself like, is this the truth? And a lot of things like, I don't know, even when it comes to your body and you're like, you say a negative comment about your body and you ask, is this the truth? You realize it's actually not the truth because you realize that where did that even come from? Where did the story that my body had to look XYZ come from? Where did this belief come from? And you start learning.
There we go.
Right? You start learning to dissolve it and you're like, oh, this is a belief system that I was taught. Like, when did I start not liking my body? And as somebody who I did the cardio bunny thing where I counted all the calories and I was a size 0, I still don't like my body. Like I played all of those realms, right? And like all of them. I worked with people on self-love and all of that for a while. But it simply came down to, interestingly enough, it's when I loved myself more that I started to love my body more. And I started to release like this energetic weight that I was just holding on to. And my relationship to food and nourishment changed, right? And it's my body is never going to be curvy. That's not my body, right? I could force all I want. I could look at all the other women, but the truth is like that I'm always living the story that my body is not enough. And so that story about it's not a truth. It's a social media post that one day you're supposed to be a size 0 and one day you're supposed to have a fat ass. And like, I know. But yeah, that's how you do it. You start literally asking yourself, is this a truth or a lie or a story, right?
Right.
And we'll have people call us names or should us or whatever. And then again, it's like, oh, that's actually their story. It's not even my story. I just chose to adapt their story. And if you feel the activation from it, right? It's like, I don't know, somebody tells you that you are a crappy mentor. I don't know. And you feel nothing. So if you feel nothing about it, it's because in your soul, you're like, that's not true. That's not true. Like, exactly. I'm human, right? But if you feel really activated by it, then there's generally a place in your heart that believes it's true. There's like a tiny piece of you in some way that's like, oh, maybe like I didn't do my best there. And then you get the opportunity to sit with yourself and be like, do I believe that? And then sometimes you're like, yeah, I actually believe that like, that I don't know what I'm doing. I don't, and then you get to sit with that. And once you sit with that, you alchemize it because then that becomes truth because you realize there was a part of you who believed it. And then you can move through that because you're radically honest with yourself. And then you're able to dissolve that. And you can also see like the bigger page of the story. And then it doesn't hold power over you anymore because if there's something you want to change from that, right? Then you're aware of the change and you also honored the part of you who believed that. Then the next time somebody says something like that to you, you feel nothing. Like that's the end goal. And really past that is when you feel unconditional love back towards that person who said something that would have previously been like something you adapted, right? And so it really is what is your truth, and you're able to tell what your truth is by those things. And my truth isn't your truth, like necessarily. Like what feels completely embodied to me and what are my beliefs, right? And what I stand for isn't necessarily what another woman is, but I'm not going to shame you for you having different thoughts or beliefs than me, right? But I will not allow you to shame me for like me being fully embodied and owning all of the things, right? Like that just does not get to happen.
There you go. Wow. Whoa, what insight.
I just get lit up.
No, you are lit up. No, I know. I can listen.
Yeah.
This is what you do, and this is what this is why you work with so many, women, because so many women, especially about their bodies, like I'm curvy and
Yeah.
I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
you'll see me in 2.5 weeks. But
I
anyways,
can't wait.
can't
So
wait to meet. And I want to talk about real and raw liberation. So how did you and Claire meet?
So this is like a fun fact. I always say people things are working out for you, right? They're always working out for you. Well, Claire and I were both in a mentorship. That mentor ended up befriending me, blocking me. It was like a whole spiral of what could have been a sister wound, and like I'm never going to invest in myself again, which didn't become my story at all. I actually still learned a lot about who I didn't want to be from it. And then Claire, my co-host, actually I met her there, right? So there's all these beautiful things actually came from that container.
Okay.
But yeah, Claire and I connected back whenever that was, 2024. I can't remember. And we stayed in contact, and she started her, raw talks. And I've always valued people speaking from their heart and not the curated TED Talks. I know TEDx speakers, and even they told me it was like hard to be really in their authenticity, because it was like they had to be so like good. And so I valued what she was doing. And for me, I mean, I don't really love the word retreat, because I don't want you to retreat from your life, but like immersions, experiences. And, like we've talked some about the work that I do. And I've always wanted to host an event that was more the bridge between like the talks and the business, and then the frequency and the embodiment and the somatics, because I believe like you need both, right? Like the 3D and the frequency, like the 5D over here, and you get to like intertwine them. And so I'd always wanted to do that. And Claire and I ended up just coming together, and she just hosted another event. And I said, well, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I want to bring in, because like, yeah, you can have all the talks if you want to, but if people don't embody it, they don't actually take action on it, it doesn't like alchemize in their system, nothing happens. But if we're bringing in like identity work, and we're bringing in breath work and like sound healing, or we're bringing in like these different like higher frequency type of conversations and things mixed with these talks and mixed with the business speakers, like how beautiful does that get to be? And it's an event that's like I've never seen created, right? It's usually one or the other, essentially.
Right, exactly.
And so that's where we came.
I had the pleasure of flying to London last year, meeting Claire and speaking. And you want to know something? When Claire contacted me last year, it was around April. I had actually visualized myself traveling to London, because I was planning a trip to Greece.
Oh my goodness. See, okay, there we go. She'd visualized it, and look at it, it like landed.
Yeah.
I love those stories. I'm all about that. I'm like, quickly you can speak something into life when it's like in complete alignment. It's like, it's just right there, right? It was just like handed to you. Beautiful.
Right there. Then you and I met, and we're going to be meeting in 2.5 weeks. So I'll be sharing my hero stories. So stay tuned. Okay. So anyway, I can't wait. But like, like we all are together for, like we all came together. See, you turned that around into a blessing, meaning you were both in this mentorship. And then she all of a sudden, that's happened to me too in the past.
And it didn't stop you though. That's where
it didn't stop me.
This experience, it's like, okay, still, how's it happening for you? How can you learn from it? And so that's what you're going to let keep you from growing your business. That's what you're going to let keep you from like your dream relationship. I had a previous partner, and we were talking about marriage, and we've been together for a while. And he was like, out of all the people, like when I witness what you're navigating, or like your divorce, or he goes, like, you'd be okay with marriage again. And I started like giggling almost, and said, how ridiculous would it be for me to allow something from my past to dictate my future when the best things in my life haven't even happened for me yet? And I go, that doesn't, like, I learned from it, but it doesn't hold power over me. So it'd be the same example with that. Like, oh yeah, you learned from it. It might be an unfavorable experience, right? But you're going to let that keep you from growing your business. You're going to let that keep you from maybe like epic mentorship or experience of your life. Not me, anyway.
Anyways, so so let's talk about real and raw liberation. That's coming up in 2.5 weeks.
Yeah. Yep. It's a 2-day live event, lakefront in Austin. It's going to be beautiful. We have real and raw talk speakers. I'm going to be leading a breathwork workshop, and also doing some speaking. I'm not going to drop in deeper to what I'll be speaking on yet. We have incredible speakers like Angeline and some other women who are speaking straight from the heart about their stories to not only empower women, but to really show you like what it is to be fully embodied. That's the whole point of the raw talk, is being able to be authentic in your truth and in your story. And to me, that's a real leader, is when we can actually empower people, or like give somebody our hand and say like, oh, you can witness my human, right? I don't have to pretend like everything is perfect. We have a sound healer coming. We have some surprises. We have a DJ coming the second day at the end, and mocktails, and an epic chiropractor. He's coming to support the women as well. And we have a woman coming to do some like energetic tattoos. And Amanda, she is the photographer, and she's going to do some photos for people too. She, like, the whole collective of this experience is beautiful, and we kept it intimate at around 50 women because we value the intimacy, and we want every woman to walk away with hopefully clients, hopefully like new co-creative partners,
right,
friends, like to have that intimate experience. So I'm really looking forward to it. And you just heard it. I mean, this is the first type of experience I've hosted like this too, so I've learned so much along the way. And I also am navigating my own, like, I don't want to say fears, but my own anxiousness around like, oh, this is new, this is different, I'm going to be speaking. Right. I've got to be aware if everything's flowing right. Like,
exactly, because you're the co-creator too, so you're both. So you have to be aware of those. Oh my God, I cannot wait.
It's gonna be so fun.
It'll be so much fun, everyone. Are there any tickets left, or are we sold out?
I'd say we're probably like 80% sold out. Yeah. So I would definitely say go grab your ticket. And then we have a sacred immersion that we're doing right afterwards, which is a 3-day kind of immersion that will go right into. We have one spot left for that as well. It's for the woman who really wants to embody and integrate ceremonially and then step into the frequency of her business right after the event. But I would highly recommend grabbing tickets, and like, you don't want to miss it, especially the in-person experience. Like, no matter the work that we do online, first, it's so important to make sure we make time to connect with people in real life, like so important, more than ever. And second of all, you collapse so much time in person, and you're not just getting like one mentor, you're getting tons of speakers, you're getting tons of value, you're getting energetic work, you're getting identity work, you're getting things to move through, maybe energy that's kept you stuck for a really long time in a 2-day experience, right? So I highly suggest you come if they're, well, maybe the tickets are sold out now. I don't know, but yeah.
Do you know the link? I could grab the link, and it'll all be in the show notes.
Yes, definitely grab the link. Join us. Austin's an incredible place anyways. Like, make a longer trip out of it. If you own a business, like, you get to write all that off. Make it a beautiful experience.
Write off. Yes. Come join us. I write off everything. I write off my trips, my speaking, and everything. So, oh my God. And Natalia, where can people reach you? So
you could find me on Facebook, Natalia Richardson, and at High Frequency CEO on Instagram.
Okay.
I do have a business page on Facebook, High Frequency CEO, but I primarily am on the personal page, because that's how I started growing my business in 2019, and that's just been my primary hub. So,
Natalia, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking, because I know you're a busy lady, especially these last 2.5 weeks. So I'm honored and blessed that you were on my podcast show. So please, everyone, share this incredible live episode out with a sister who needs to hear this powerful message, Natalia, that our conversation today. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a great day, everyone. Bye. Thank you for listening to Her Unapologetic Voice. Every conversation here is meant to help you build confidence from the inside out and find strength in your own words. If today's message resonated, follow the show and share it with a friend who's ready to lead from who she truly is. You can also connect with me on social media at Her Unapologetic Voice Podcast for updates and behind the scenes insights. Remember, confidence begins when you stop apologizing for your truth and start speaking from it. I'm Angeline Constantinu, and I will see you in the next episode.